All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So let's shift gears here. Mental health in financial institutions, whether we're talking about banking or in credit unions. I recently had an opportunity to speak to a group of young people at the Virginia Credit Union League, and I addressed topics like anxiety, not from a perspective of as an expert, but just acknowledging that there are individuals that deal with anxiety, individuals that deal with depression, and other kind of mental health issues, and that as future leaders, they need to be aware of that. And you'd be surprised, after I got off the stage, I had at least two people come up to me in tears saying that I deal with that. I never thought anybody would address it. And they just appreciated me from bringing that to the light. And so, from an employment law standpoint, two perspectives I'd like to hear about. One, what are some of the things as an employee can they expect or should be allowed to get if they are dealing with anxiety or depression and things of that nature that may affect their ability to work? But then also from the CEO and manager's perspective, what are some of the things that they can do to make a more comfortable workplace for individuals that aren't, in some ways, neurotypical? I might use that colloquial word, that's individuals that don't deal with some of those issues.
Great question again. In terms of what sort of resources are available, most organizations that I work with have an employee assistance program that is an outside agency, EAP. You may have heard that expression. And that's an organization that will have a hotline where if you as an employee are feeling under particular stress, you're not sure how to deal with it, you may need referrals, you prefer not to go to someone within the company, you have access to an outside expert to take the call, talk you down if it's really a serious issue, but also then get referrals for additional support.
Now, Steve, is this something that larger organizations have, or would smaller organizations? Is this a paid service or free service? Like who has access to this particular number?
It's a paid service,
Okay.
so it's something that the employer pays for. Most mid-sized to larger employers will have one, and it's I think a good investment
Hmm.
because if you can take people who otherwise are severely stressed and find them, give them an opportunity to find help on a confidential basis, I think you more than pay for it.
Hmm.
So most organizations will have that, and if you're an employee who's got an issue like that, and there's a list of employee benefits, you'll often see EAP on it.
Hmm.
If the company does not have an EAP, you may be able to go to someone within HR and say, "Can I get a referral?"
Okay.
And if you're not able to do that, most insurance plans now, health insurance plans, will cover psychiatric or other kinds of mental health issues as part of the regular menu of services that they'll provide to employees who need help.
So
So there should be assistance.
one thing that I've noticed in terms of just some of the good CEOs and good managers I've come in contact with in the financial institution space is that they have a good sense of, although they may not be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, they have a good sense of the mood and temperament of their employees. And where I see some of these individuals have a competitive advantage in terms of talent retention, they recognize individuals that may have certain mood swings, and they give them the space they need to maybe go for a walk. They offer things like remote work, because certain things stress them out. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, as long as the work is getting done, you can create a competitive advantage against other workplaces if you're willing to accommodate certain individuals that run into these issues. Yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely, and I do a number of presentations on, and this comes into Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA,
Okay.
which protects qualified individuals with disabilities, and those disabilities include mental disabilities. Most states also have similar protections for employees as well. So So it's well established in virtually all workplaces that employees who have mental or physical problems that interfere with their ability to work may have the opportunity to get the kind of accommodations that you're talking about, a change in work schedule, a change in work location, the opportunity to take a break more often. So there's an entire process that happens when someone comes forward and says, I have a problem, I need some help. And then there's an entire set of processes that go on from, and the HR ordinarily will guide this to determine whether this is a person who has a problem that we can work with, whether there's some part of the job that needs to change or can change, what sort of accommodations may be possible, consistent with the employee's need to actually do the job.
Right.
And often these accommodations are very effective. I've presented along with engineers and other people who work on workplace accommodations. And I don't have the statistics in front of me, but most workplace accommodations of the kind you're talking about are free. They
Okay.
don't cost the employer anything. Others, there may be a slight initial cost, less than $500, and those accommodations often are highly successful. And so sometimes something as simple as moving someone's workstation
Mm-hmm.
or providing a different schedule or a whole different range of things depending upon the needs of the individual can be very effective at making the person productive, healthy, happy on the job. Now, you can't always work that way. There
Right.
are times when the problem is so severe or the needs to change are so substantial
Mm-hmm.
that it's not really possible to accommodate. And the employer needs to try,
Right.
but it doesn't always work, but often it does.
You
And
know, it's
so,
interesting. It's interesting because the doors swing both ways in the sense that if you have a person that's extremely anxious and they're your loan process auditor or something, the reason why you have a low amount of exceptions is because they're anxious about it and they're intense. And so it works to your benefit when you have an audit because you don't have any exceptions because this person has this very anxious personality. But on the opposite end, if a manager comes and just dumps a boatload of work on them unexpectedly when there was an opportunity to give them some lead time, they may blow up. They may be intense, that kind of thing. So you got to take my opinion. I'll speak for myself as a consultant. I find that you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. That door swings both ways, and so there's ways that you can map to that individual's needs. I think the day and age where an employer can say you need to get on my program, work the way we want you to work. I think that's ended in the sense that employees have a lot of more options, especially good employees, to go other places. And I think again, you can have a competitive advantage in this talent pool if you're willing to accommodate.
yeah, and I think that what you're talking about may not even be a disability. It may
Mm.
just be a personality quirk.
Okay.
And so some of what is really strong management is being able to work with people who have all different kinds of work styles. And for some people, a particular focus of the kind you're talking about, where they're very intent or intense, that just may be the personality. That there may be nothing wrong psychologically or mentally with a person like that, and they may be highly productive. And being able to work with people who have all different kinds of personalities, that's what makes it a successful manager. One thing that managers have to be aware of is trying to diagnose,
Oh,
putting themselves in some sort of mental health
professional.
lens that
Hmm.
they don't have, and I don't have certainly, the degree of a psychologist or psychiatrist or medical doctor who can look at someone, get medical information, and make conclusions, or make conclusions even without evidence.
Hmm.
And there's a protection for individuals in the workplace who are erroneously believed to be disabled or have a disability, because that could also hurt their career, as you might imagine.
Correct.
If the employee is seen as somebody who has mental health problems, when in fact there's nothing wrong with them,
Hmm.
they're also being disadvantaged, and the management has to watch out for that.
Okay.